Hey family, how are you? I was having a conversation with one of my sister friends this evening, and I don't know, I just felt like it's something that could possibly benefit us as a whole to talk about. And there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of overwhelm that's taking place in our community right now and in our world, right? And one of the things I was thinking about, like, I know everyone is thinking of 2020 as this crazy, crazy year and full of tons of loss. And even for myself, losing loved ones, that was true. But I know that we are all familiar with the concept of the elimination diet. And so we typically are associating that when we're talking about food. But I want to maybe put a little spin on it and talk about what that looks like in our everyday lives. So, in 2020, we have no access outside. Everyone's in the home. Maybe you're afraid, maybe you're not knowing what's going on, whatever your feelings were. It is safe to say that we got stripped down to bare bones. So, similarly, in an elimination diet, it's when you remove everything out of your diet and kind of get down to like one or two basics, and then you slowly add things back in to see which one of those food products you were having an adverse reaction to, right? So if we take that same perspective and we remove everything out of our life and we get down to bare bones, kind of like we did last year, and we are intentional about just adding in one thing at a time to see what thing we're having an adverse reaction to, we could possibly thwart what I see going on. Like, there's a lot of mental health stress that's happening. So for whatever reason, I think people really thought we were going to go from last year and then jump back in and everything was just going to go right back to normal, and that we were going to be able to handle having every aspect of our life go right back to how it was before. And so people are getting very sick, people are passing away, people are having broken relationships, they are stressed all the way the heck out. And there's this level of overwhelm because we went from bare bones back to full force, having everything added back into our life, and that's just not how this thing goes. So even on a elimination diet, if you take yourself all the way down to whatever, rice and lettuce, let's just use that as an example, and then instead of adding one thing and then another thing and another thing, you just go back to cheeseburgers, tacos, meat, dairy, da 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 da, and you don't do it one at a time, your system is going to overload and you're going to have a toxic, nasty reaction to that. And so, one of the things that I have enjoyed about this whole thing is having the right to choose what things I'm adding back in. If I want to add back in social media, at what rate I want to add it back in. If I want to add in communicating at a high level with people, whether that's on the phone or in person, what's my priority with that? And I just want to encourage you guys, like, not to feel obligated to add everything back in and try to get back to normal, or be a recluse in the house or whatever. Like, you choose. And what could happen, what kind of strides can we make in our life if we treated our energy like an elimination diet, right? You can remove family members, you can remove friends, you can remove certain ways of communicating, and then one by one adding them back in and seeing if the effect is positive, is it negative, is it toxic, is it healthy? And if it proves to be toxic, eliminate it. And if it proves to be healthy, go ahead and keep it, and then keep working through, your list of things. Because y'all, like, stress is a killer. We are all grieving We are all experiencing stress on one level or another, right? And so one of the things that's helping me deal with all the things I have going on in my life, the positive things and the grieving things, is taking that elimination diet very seriously. I have no qualms with saying I really just haven't really talked to a lot of people unless they're clients, or if it's business communication via email. I really just be in my house with my children and talking to them and dealing with the things that take place, like just taking care of home. And because I just don't have it, I just don't have the energy to highly engage all these people, whether they feel like they deserve my time for whatever reason. Like I don't have it. And I have more peace in my life than I've ever had. And even when I am engaging with people and I'm choosing to go to this place or to go to that place or to engage in certain activities, I am choosing to add them into my life one at a time, so that if I decide to go out to dinner, or if I decide to go dancing, or if I decide to do this event or that, I can assess in the moment how I feel when I'm leaving that place. Is that something positive that I could keep going and adding in my life, or does that have to go? Is this group of people, do I feel good? Do I feel at peace? Do I feel calm when I'm around these people? Or is it agitating and argumentative all the time? When I receive text messages or phone calls or voicemails, listening to that person's voice or reading the messages that they're leaving, how does that make me feel? And understanding that we always get to choose. And I have seen so much growth in my life personally. I've been able to assess the places that needed adjustment and work in my relationship with my family and my relationship with my children. I sleep well. Drinking my water and minding my business has been like amazing. And so when I think about, like, we don't often get these resets. 2020 was a reset. Regardless of how you feel about anything, we took a collective rest. And rest has been one of the most therapeutic things in my life since last year. Like, I would not have made it. I would have had a breakdown or be crying every day and all this kind of stuff if I didn't allow myself to just breathe and rest and grieve and not feel obligated towards anything. I wouldn't be able to have a clear vision about my business or anything that I have going on, my personal relationships. Everything would have been foggy if I would have just kept going and I didn't allow my emotions to rest. I didn't allow my spirit to rest. Like, we are not built to be on the go 24/7. Depending on your tradition and your background, you might have a Sabbath day or a rest day built in, but it's so rare these days that we are taking 24 hours to rest, to not work, to just be in a very calm state of meditation and just kind of see what's coming up for us and coming in and leaving and what areas we need to adjust. Like, we are not taking time to rest. So I just want to encourage you to put your life on an elimination diet. There's no deadline, there's no email, there's no client, there's no partner, there's no child on this earth that is worth more than you being whole. If all of those things that I just listed are not healthy and in proper priority, you can literally die from stress. Like, I really don't understand why people are playing with this. It's not a game. Especially if you're a black person, you're an indigenous person, you just out here dealing with all the craziness in the world that we've had to deal with in perpetuity for generations. We cannot, joy is necessary. Peace is necessary. Love is necessary. And by eliminating everything and kind of starting from scratch and adding them in slowly and intentionally assessing what that thing adds or takes away from your life, we've got to do it. We are dropping like flies, y'all. From stress, from illness, from unforgiveness. had this, I can't remember what the event was, but I want to say it was probably 2010, and I was at this event with, I can't remember the guru's name exactly, but a friend invited me, and there was a guru in town. We drove up to New Jersey to go to this event. Amazing event. And I was in like one of the worst emotional seasons of my life, right? Horrible breakup, emotionally unhealthy, newborn, dealing with postpartum depression, tons of hatred and unforgiveness in my heart. And I remember afterwards we had this opportunity to meet with him and have him say whatever he was going to say to us, right? So at this point on my journey, I'm thinking like, I just want to know, like, what do you see, right? And he's like looking, and his eyebrows are doing like this, and I'm just kind of like, okay, like, what's happening? So he's telling me, he's like, yo, your light, he didn't say yo, I say yo. He's like, your light is so bright. He's like, but in your body, he's like, it's almost like it's covered and littered in unforgiveness. Like, that unforgiveness is a cancer in your body. And I remember, and I was like, how can my light be so bright? But yet I had this, like, this fog of unforgiveness and hatred over my spirit. And I know exactly, like, I knew exactly what it was about, who it was about, all of that. But I share that because, like, so many times we meet these physical challenges, we have these perspectives, we have these insurmountable hurdles and all of this, and we're like, I don't understand, like, I'm talented, or I'm this, or I'm that. And sometimes it's as simple as the cancer of unforgiveness and hatred eating away at your life and covering your candle. Like, the candle is still lit, but your light cannot shine as brightly and with as much clarity as it needs, because it's under this fog of unforgiveness and hatred and trauma and pain and unresolved pain, unresolved trauma, and all of that. And I remember what he said, and I mean, I was on a serious healing journey at that point. I was like, I know that I'm not at my highest and best, and I will do whatever it is. I will study whatever it is. I will make whatever sacrifice on some poor righteous teacher craziness at that point. But it was for the point of healing. Like, I know I have to heal. So fast forward to 2020, getting divorced, or separated first, getting divorced, and having these like Rhema revelations about like codependency and the history of codependency, martyrdom and God complex, like getting all of these revelations about all these things and how they're intertwined in your spirit. And as I was going through my journey at that point, that was like the end of 2019, early 2020. And I experienced a loss. My grandmother passed away, and that was like March, like right as everything was kind of shutting down and getting wild. She passed away at home in hospice. And it was like a crazy pivotal moment where the world was going on lockdown, everything was shutting down, but it was like a prime opportunity for me to literally eliminate everybody, everything. I don't care. Like, I was like, I don't care about anything. Yes, I'm gonna take care of my children, make sure we're good, but I was also very authentic in my grieving process with them. Like, we're gonna, like, I don't have what it takes to cook with love and all these things that I prefer to do, so we're gonna be ordering out more. Like, I have to care for myself in this way. But I'm saying all that to say there were things that I eliminated, there were responsibilities that I eliminated out of my life because I just could not, and I could not do it well. And in that process, from last year all the way up to now, being home, not being able to engage in society in a normal way, getting outside into nature. Like, I was looking at some of my my memories and my pictures, and I was like, yo, last year was lit. Like, we were out in nature, reservoir, beach. Like, we were just out in nature because that was basically one of the only things that we could do to be open. But I realized that even though we were out in nature, it was to ground us physically, emotionally, and spiritually, like as individuals, me and my children, without interference from anyone else. And the clarity and the clearness and the lessons and the conviction and all of that that came from that season has been invaluable. So fast forward to now, where all the slate got wiped clean. I wasn't really talking to people unless it was via email or online. I had brought down all my responsibilities. Obviously, I wasn't doing the pick-up, drop-off thing for school. Like, everybody was home, everybody was virtual, what have you. And I just really got things to bare bottom. And with that, it was almost like I also got down to bare bottom with myself. I got to look at myself as a skeleton of myself. I got to look at myself as the inner child version of myself, and I was able to honestly look and take time and reflect and ask questions at, like, God, what is happening, what's going on, da 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 da. And when I got down into like the crevices of my heart, that thought of what that guru had said to me all those years ago came up. No matter what business strides I'm making, no matter what accolades I receive, no matter what bomb thing I do, whatever the case may be, without forgiveness, without getting clear and getting down to bare basics of myself, right? Because what unforgiveness does is it adds somebody else's bullshit onto you, okay? When you're holding on to unforgiveness, you're constantly replaying what has happened to you and what somebody did and da 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 da. That is residue that is constantly being heaped on you, your spirit, your mind, your body, your heart. And for the better part of this year, combing through and examining every single relationship, back to my first relationships with my parents, back to my first intimate relationships and the people that I've chosen to have intimate relationships with, getting information if I still have access, some of my co-parents, asking questions, and really getting as much information as I can so that I can comprehensively. That's the kind of person I am. I'm not saying that's what it takes for everybody, nor do I think everyone deserves a conversation, especially if the person is crazy toxic or dangerous. But some people in my life that were not dangerous, I was able to have some of those conversations with. So then when I'm going into this conscious place of forgiving them and discharging the debt and washing away the residue of all that pain and unforgiveness and hatred off of my heart, it's like less and less I begin to even recognize who I thought I was. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's growth, right? And so I was just thinking, though, like, how many years have I gone just adding things on top of things because I never eliminated and had time to even comb through these things. So when I'm talking about this elimination diet, it's like, it is imperative that we use our time wisely. Like, we cannot look up and be 67 years old. We may not even make it to 60, 70 years old. If we're continuously, and I'm not talking about, I'm healed, I'm good, we broke up and I did this and I did that and now everything is clear. That's a lie. Because a lot of times your unforgiveness is attached to things that you don't even know it's attached to. And yes, I'm a firm believer in therapy, and your therapist, if you have a good one, will help you work through some of these things. But for instance, typically looking at like what kind of partners I attracted, I could get into how these people weren't able to show up for me, or how these people weren't able to this, that, or I don't want to this, or I want to that, and needs aren't being met. I can get into all of that. But in one of our sessions, we were kind of tying it back to those unmet needs were actually rooted in unmet needs from my parents. They actually had nothing to do with these people that I was choosing to have a relationship with. And for the most part, they very well may have been showing up at their highest and best capacity, but if I didn't have that void from the parental units, then I probably wouldn't have even been attracted to or engaging with those people. So just to kind of link it together, when you're sitting still on something, you actually get a chance to get to the root of it. We can't keep just snipping flowers and snipping little twigs off the edge of a tree and call ourselves digging deep and healing. That's not true. Until you get to the actual root of the issue, dig it up, look at it, deal with it, process it, acknowledge it, forgive it, whatever it is that needs to happen, you're still carrying that around, and that's heavy. But then, like the guru was saying, your light gets dimmed, it's overshadowed. You have these speckles and this shadow over you because you're never getting to the root of it. And when you're talking about our community, you're talking about heart attacks, you're talking about cancer, you're talking about high blood pressure, because you're constantly in this like crazy survival mode or defense mechanism, all these things. But we don't have to be if we take the time and we make a good use of our time to get to the root. I deal with this every day in birth work with my clients. I deal with it every day with myself in my own personal life. I deal with it every day with my children and helping them process their different experiences and their family dynamics that they didn't choose. It's an ongoing thing, but then it's like, how can you truly have a connected experience with another human being if you're not able to at the very least be honest with yourself? And I don't mean honesty where you wear things as a badge of honor and you use it as an excuse to continue to be a jerk to other people. I mean being honest where you're like, wow, I need to heal, I need to work through that, but you took the time to actually get to the root of what that is. You can't we're not healing situations, we're healing the essence of ourselves, we're healing our hearts, we're healing childhood wounds that we may not even remember. We might need to have some conversations with some aunties and grandparents and parents in our life to kind of think back to, just to get a real assessment of what happened in our life, right? I've had to have conversations with my parents just to get info of who I was as a child and all of that, just so I could get clear on, oh wow, okay, yeah, that makes sense, just so I could connect certain dots. But if you don't have time and you are go, and you are grinding in this culture and you're on your 9 to 5 and now you got to come home and eat dinner and now your boss done stress you out and you're drinking a glass of wine or a shot of something or a mixed drink and that, then you're going to sleep, you're waking up and you're doing it the next day. When do you have time to tend to yourself? When do you have time to tend to your spirit? But at the very least, like, what are we here for? We are not here to work 9 to 5s and, oh, I'm going to wake up and do the same thing the next day. And I'm not talking about entrepreneurship and 9 to 5. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't care. Even if you're an entrepreneur, you can use that as an excuse as well and just grind it out and do all this stuff. You're never taking time for yourself. You're never eliminating all the muck in the mire and getting down to bare bones with yourself because you don't have time to. Our vacations are taking up our free time. Our children are taking up our free time. We're not creating boundaries around our life and around ourselves so that we can actually become whole. Like, that's kind of a part of the human journey here, you know, being spiritual beings, having a human experience. You're not just here to go grocery shopping and travel to wherever you're going to, whatever continent. Like, that's not the end all be all. We have actual human work to do to evolve. That's not just for us, it's for our next generation. It's for the legacy that we're leaving for our children, for our grandchildren. Who are you? If you cannot actually answer that question, then there's so much work to do. It's not a question that's easy to answer. And so, again, I just want to, it's a lot. But let's go on an elimination diet, y'all. Let's not be in such a hurry and a rush to get back to normal. There is no more, like, we're not getting back to that. So just stop. If you think we are, I don't know what to tell you. We're not. So let's eliminate, let's take this time. This is an actual opportunity to go inward, to self-reflect, to look at ourselves honestly. You might see some trash. I haven't liked everything that I've seen. I'm not saying this is a woo-woo, beautiful, calming experience. No, it's painful. It hurts. Reckoning with yourself, reckoning with your traumas, reckoning with your inner child and all the unmet needs that may have been there is not an easy thing to look at face value and deal with. But we've got to have courage to do it because we're dying. And it's not all from a this and a that. Like, no, we are dying before our time, before we have completed the mission, before we have fulfilled our destiny. We're dying. Stress, cancer, high blood pressure, anger, unforgiveness. All of these things, like all of our emotions are connected to a particular organ, right? And so when you're looking at these manifestations in our body, like, it's connected to something. I can't remember, it's been a few years now, but I was reading something about why certain ailments are, kind of geared towards certain demographics. And I read this interesting thing, particularly when it came to black women and their hearts. And they were talking about, they did a study on African American women, black women, indigenous women that had breast cancer. And they did a study asking them about, like, their relationship history, just kind of going over their life personally and talking to them. And some ridiculously high number, I think it was between 85 to 90% of the women that were interviewed had experienced extreme heartbreak. And they were looking at connecting heartbreak, unforgiveness to breast cancer. In my own life, in my own family, I can absolutely validate that study, even if I just looked within my family. And you can feel free to do your own independent personal studies. Just start asking questions and associating what illnesses are showing up in your family and what the experiences are. When folks have experienced traumas and physical and sexual abuse, there's these splits that take place mentally, and they have certain particular mental health challenges, whether it be schizophrenia or bipolar, but they are connected to these experiences that folks have experienced as young children that cause them to disassociate or fragment themselves into these different pieces and show up in these different personas, whatever. Of course, I know that there are physiological imbalances and all kinds of things that contribute to it. But my point is even on the physiological side and what contributes to it, we cannot disconnect that connection from traumatic experiences, emotions, food, environment, chemicals. Like, all of those things affect our bodies on a physiological level, our emotions included. It is not compartmentalized. And for so many generations, we have accepted this, like, fragmented view of who we are as human beings, and it's not working. It's not working. We're not fragmented. You cannot compartmentalize yourself as a human being. You are a mind, body, and spirit being. Every single thing that you do affects every single thing that you do. There's no way to get around it. And so I just wanted to come on and talk about the possibility, if you are open to applying an elimination diet to your life, not just with food, but with people, places, things and ideas and see how your life can change. See how you can heal. See how generational patterns and habits can be broken. See how financial breakthroughs can take place. All of these things are connected. And I just want to encourage you to just give it a try. Give it a try. Do it for a month, 30 days. Maybe I'll intentionally do this for the month of October, I'm not sure. But if you can, do an elimination diet on your life. Go through, get a journal, assess every single area. People, places, things, and ideas. Start with you. Obviously, if you have children, you're not going to be able to say, oh, you're part of my elimination diet, right? No. But go home, keep it tight, look around your family, assess your family, your partner, your husband, your wife, your children. Get those relationships in sync, get those relationships healthy. Then add in different family members and kind of say, oh, you know what? My family dynamic is thrown off when grandma and them visit. Or my family dynamic is thrown off when Uncle so-and-so is over. Hey, guess what? They might have to get eliminated for a season or two. You know what? Folks are acting crazy when we're eating this type of food. Folks are acting crazy when I respond emotionally this way. And just go layer for layer. When I'm on social media and I'm getting distracted, oh, this part of my life is suffering. Oh my gosh, I'm reading the news every day and now my mind is fried and I'm foggy and I can't handle my business because I've spent this time doing this. Eliminate it. And then document your increase in peace, your increase in love, your increase in joy, your increase in a sound mind, your increase in love with those that are closest to you. And as you identify those things that take away from your peace, love, joy, sound mind, closeness with your family and loved ones, be okay with letting those things go. Permanently or for a season or whatever the case may be. But I think if we routinely did this, even seasonally, quarterly, yearly, if we do it at all, but I think that we have been given an amazing opportunity in 2020 and now in 2021, even though it's almost over. But we don't have to let what that presented, that opportunity that presented, we don't have to let that go. We don't have to just chug along and just, oh, okay, we're doing this. No. What works best for your family and you? What works best for you and your family? What works best for you? What do you need to serve from a full cup? That's an answer worth having. If mama not good, nobody's good. Whatever the statement could be toxic or whatever you want to call it, but the fact of the matter is it's real for everyone. If daddy's not good, ain't nobody good. If the children ain't good, ain't nobody good. So let's focus on filling all of our cups and figuring out what it is that we need to actually have that full cup so that we can thrive. Like, surviving is bare minimum. It's bare minimum. It's absolutely bare minimum. And I'm grateful that I've survived all the things that I've survived. But it's time to step into thriving. And when we're stepping from surviving to thriving, there's an absolute reassessment that has to take place. It just has to take place. You cannot use the same tools. It's not the same set of emotions. It's not the same set of habits. It's not none of that. So now you have to strip everything away, eliminate everything, reassess. Every next level, every level that you're going to, every change that you need to make, every area of your life, you're going to have to strip away everything, assess, and slowly add things back in. So that's all that I wanted to share with you guys this evening. And yeah, I mean, it's on my heart, but it's like I'm seeing so many people, like, y'all losing y'all mind out there for real. Some of y'all are dying. Some of y'all are getting really sick. Some of us are stagnating in our purpose because we're not taking the time to do an elimination diet on our lives. And I don't want that for myself, and I don't want that for y'all. So please, 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 you deserve to take a moment or a season to practice an elimination diet on your entire life. So I will pop in again soon. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, you guys are just, you're amazing. My community is amazing, and I appreciate y'all so deeply. A lot of y'all I've only interacted with online, and so I appreciate y'all, because that's y'all, all the folks that I've been talking to only in that way. My phone has been like, that was part of my elimination diet. Is like, I'm not answering the phone. I don't want to text unless like I want to, or I'm called to, or I'm led to. And so I appreciate those of you who have loved on me and communicated with me in this season. I'm healing. I am so blessed and joyful, more than I've ever been in my whole life, and I don't take that lightly. And so I just have gratitude for those of you who love me anyway, and who are like, yeah girl, when you come off your sabbatical, it's on and popping. So I love you guys, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.